All right, this is good. Um, this is going to unite the understandings of Jesus and Muhammad and Haile Selassie and Joe Smith and northern migrations and adaptations of religious comprehension and understanding of, quote, molecularism. Molecularism is the molecular continuation of symbiotic relationships. Symbiotic relationships have a molecular continuation through interactive breeding processes and then genetically reproduce molecular similitudes of one another. It's discussed in the Pearl of Great Price left to us by the messenger of God, Joseph Smith. It's also discussed at the beginning of the book of Matthew, the beginning of the book of Luke, the Surah of Mary in the Holy Quran, the Surah of the Cow in the Holy Quran. It's discussed many times in what we know as the Holy Gospels. It's discussed in the Abrahamic Bible when Haile Selassie tells you I'm a direct line from Solomon's and David's loins and mothers and so on, so on and so forth. So you're going to have to understand that it's this thing right here. It's the royal heir, and the thing is it does come through the royal family, but it's not always. It's not going to be King Henry III. Okay, it could be a cousin, because you see that in this movie when you watch this movie Beckett, when the bishop who ends up trying to help get Beckett assassinated because he's jealous of him. But Beckett is of royal lineage because Beckett is a son of Henry's William. Okay, Beckett's father is Norman, his mother is Saxon, so he's a Saxon. But as he tells you, he sits there and I had to do this because your forefathers came along, killed my forefathers, raped my mom, and turned me into a slave. Okay, the same thing Daniel said to Nebuchadnezzar. The same thing Joseph said to Pharaoh. The same thing Jesus said to Ramses. Okay, you guys come in and do this. Okay, now these Romans are more civil, but they're going to have less understanding because we're not quite as well related to them. They think they're better than us, and they're functionally insane. Okay, these Romans are nuts. Okay, they're heathen. Okay, and they all do things together in big group rituals and follow these heathen rituals and do as they're told by the big cult leader. Kind of like James Earl Jones's character on Conan with old Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look, you can make them walk off a building. You can make them do whatever they want. Caesar walks 5,000 men off a cliff just to prove a point, and they'll do it for him. It's insane. It's exceedingly insane. And then they've turned Jesus into a Roman cult leader and not into the Hebrew teacher. The rabbi means teacher, not Roman cult leader. Caesar means Kaiser, the leader. I'm not a Caesar. Okay, I'm not a Kaiser. I am a rabbi. A rabbi is a teacher. I teach you molecularism, of symbiotic relationships, on how to make the world good for all symbiotic relationships, that we teach each other, every man. It's like old Robin Hood and what's his face is Russell Crowe's movie, and every man's the king of his castle, and so and this disease of monotheism, as they said on the great National Geographic channel, of all that stuff, and saying that stuff about their great spread of their demagoguery, cult worship and shit too, if they're atheist crowd. The disease of monotheism spread after they murdered Jesus for teaching the Romans better sciences, reason, and so on. And then that spread of, quote, monotheism spreads when Muhammad of Mecca teaches the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire the spread of monotheism and the one God and the molecularism, and that we're all of royal descent because we all come from similar loins, because when a mommy cat and a daddy cat reproduce, you get mommy and daddy cats. Some of them, like Lori said, become mongrels, and they're bad dogs and they're mad, and some of them just have this perpetual form of rabies because it's relative, and they want to compete with the good dog, and they're not a good dog. And so if they can't stop being a good dog, you have to put them out of their misery, because they'll make life miserable for everybody else, kind of like what Amy did and stuff like that. Then we have to create better wealth and conditions and show Bob better. And it can happen within a lifetime. Muhammad told us about that, about the clean golden slate of all children born. It's all what we put into it and what we value and what we create because of our rationality. And in that movie, what's the name of that movie? Ben-Hur, you can't think that your great King Solomon will rule again, where everybody sees everybody as an equal, and everybody comes and gives in accordance to need, and we make sure we solve any problems as far as how they're planting food and all this. You can't expect them to be scientists. They're soldiers. They'll take what they want. Like in this movie, he sits there and he talks to his 4 guys that he gets to assassinate Beckett, and he goes, "Do you guys even think?" "No, a gentleman's got too much, things to do to waste his time thinking." And then the other guy, "You brutes," and whatever is there. And then he sits there. He's Lady Macbeth. He does a Lady Macbeth on him. He sits there and goes, and that's where, what do you think Shakespeare got Lady Macbeth? He was raised and wound in the courtly life of the British royal family. They're Lady Macbeths. "Oh, unsex me now. I can't do this deed." He gets them to do it. Then he takes penance for it publicly. He takes on Beckett's deed, and then he has those guys killed. Did you see at the end? He sits there and goes, "They'll have to find their killers who killed him." And they're all like sitting there going, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, we all have to do penance. I just asked him to kill him, and then I got whipped for it. You guys literally killed him, and you're going to end up dying for it. Have a nice day. I'm the king, and I can't leave any evidence that I talked you into it." And those guys, "What?" It's like, no. They're going to say just like what happened with Becket, and they're not as smart as Becket to sit there and so, "I'm going to go to Rome and talk to the Pope," and then he sneaks out of the country because he knows Henry will have assassinate him because he's Lady Macbeth. Do you see how they work? I'll be back. You got to understand who you're working with when you're working with these people that call themselves the Hebrews and the Israelites in Israel and the people in the royal family and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and stuff. You got to understand what kind of people you're dealing with. You're not dealing with people like me. You're dealing with people like them.